Their request and demands of the New Zealand people is that all public health measures are removed. That means at the very point where we're seeing an increase in cases and an increase in risk to the public health and well-being of New Zealand.
But is that true at this point now in the game, at this stage in the game? Is that 100% true? Is it true that if they don't shut down, the cases will rise? Okay, so I'm thinking that it may be close to being over now. It's been about 3 weeks into the Canadian trucker protests, and that's spread on throughout the world. France had a few of them, but they've already kind of shut that down. I think Switzerland, a couple other places had them. But one of the more important places that we need to catch up on is New Zealand, because New Zealand is shutting them down, and their prime minister just said that they will not be tolerating any type of protests. And we'll check out this video real quick so we can see what's going on in New Zealand and see how that has anything to do with us in America and Canada.
Said previously, I very clearly have a view on the protest and the way that they've conducted their protest, because it's moved beyond sharing a view to intimidation and harassment of the people around central Wellington. That cannot be tolerated. Let's be really clear. From what I've seen in writing today from those who continue to occupy the forecourt of Parliament and cause a inability for those in Wellington to currently move around freely, their request and demands of the New Zealand people is that all public health measures are removed. That means at the very point where we're seeing an increase in cases and an increase in risk to the public health and well-being of New Zealand.
But is that true at this point now in the game, at this stage in the game? Is that 100% true? Is it true that if they don't shut down, the cases will rise? Is that true? Is it very true now? Now with everything, all the information that we have, America being a great little spot for us to check out and see what the hell is going on, because in our country we have a few states that didn't shut down, we have a few states that did, and it doesn't necessarily look like like it made that big of a difference. Now, we could do a deeper dive into it and see how well everything really worked, but it doesn't necessarily seem like it's working the way that she's explaining it. It's not that simple. If you stay shut down, that means that people are just not going to have their work. They're not going to have their jobs. They're not going to be able to make a living. Is that quelling the spike? I don't know. I don't know if it's quelling the spike, because it doesn't seem like it's working like that anymore.
They want to see removed the very measures that have kept us safe, well and alive. You'll forgive me if I take a very strong view on that suggestion.
She takes a very strong view. Now here's an update on what's going on over there. Here's some graphic content in New Zealand. Now the protesters, obviously, they're getting tired. They're getting very, very tired. I think everyone's getting tired. From everyone that I talk to in the streets here in Baltimore, everyone's getting tired. Everyone's getting sick and tired of this rigmarole over and over and over and over, and it not ending. It's been 2 years now. It's been 2 years, and it still hasn't ended. Yeah, there are progressively getting more and more unruly as the days go on. So, But that, now, is that exactly how most of the protesters are acting? Is this convenient timing? Is this some convenient footage that they're trying to show so that people can be like, oh, okay, well, I don't think it's a good idea for us to be supporting these protesters because these protesters do not seem to be acting right. They don't seem to be acting right. Now, all of this stuff is starting to spread out throughout the world, and Canada. And this is interesting, though, because yesterday the Canadian Prime Minister went out and did a speech talking about the protesters.
The federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial.
And from what I understand, this has never been done before. Invoking the Emergency Act over the protests has never been done before, and apparently it's for very serious emergencies where people actually can get hurt. Now, the emergency that is going on now is the fact that Canada is losing a lot of money because the protesters have blocked off certain pipelines, truck lines, car lines, vehicles, bridges. They've blocked them off to where they're losing a lot of money. Americans and Canadians are losing a lot of money. Apparently, there's like $800 million worth of goods and services that go through some of these bridges that are being blocked off by the protesters. So there is a lot of money being lost. But I think the protesters are trying to make a point. Now, let's finish up this Justin Trudeau before we get into where we think all of this is heading. But yesterday, which today is Tuesday, yesterday Trudeau announced that he was doing the emergency, the Emergency Act, the Emergencies Act. So we'll see how it all goes.
And territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. I want to be very clear. The scope of these measures will be time-limited, geographically targeted, as well as reasonable and proportionate.
Which means we are going to surgically remove every single one of those protesters and get them out of there. We're only going to focus on this little area for a certain amount of time and get them out. Now, here's the crazy thing. For the past 3 weeks, I've been seeing update after update after update, live footage from what's going on over there with the protesters. Today, you cannot find anything. You cannot find anything. So where is this going? Did they finally smash the protests? Or is it over for the protests? Is it finally done? It seems like, I don't know, I don't want to speak too soon, but it seems like it may be over for the protesters. What do you think? Do you think that it's over for the protesters? Do you think that they're going to continue on, even though they've started the Emergencies Act, which makes it more likely that they can clear them out a lot faster than what they were?